represented. It's amazing how some fan bases are just out there and they're passionate, and that's what, to me, when I see the Green Bay Packers, the Cleveland Browns, the Steelers, they're like a college fan base. The Buffalo Bills are becoming that, with the mafia, if you will. But I don't think they've got the sheer number of fans that some of these others do, but they're passionate. I love it.
The Bills mafia is absolutely rowdy, and you see these, like the Bills fans that have just had their first child or whatever, and they get the mini table and use their infant baby to do the body bounce off onto the table to break the table. It's insane how passionate these people are.
I love it.
And it like you said, you can't do anything but love it. Sometimes you laugh at it, sometimes you embrace it. I'm not quite that rowdy. Now, listen, I'm a passionate sports fan. I name my kids after some of my favorite all-time Braves. But at the same time, it's like, man, you know what? You see some of these little kids out there this past weekend at Green Bay that, hey, it didn't matter what was going on. The NFL draft was in town. They probably shut everything down,
right,
for the kids to be able to be there Friday, getting ready for that first round. I mean, it's such a cool thing, and especially in a town like Green Bay that's such a small place.
It's a little bitty town. There's a blip on the map.
2 hotels there in Green Bay, by the way.
There's no way, if you were starting a football league today, there's no way that Green Bay would ever get a franchise.
Yeah, it would never happen.
But what I love, it's a community-owned. You can't move them because everyone in the city would have to vote. So the Green Bay's there. They're stuck. Listen, there was a push years and years ago, back when I was a lot younger, to move the Green Bay Packers to Milwaukee full time. Now, they used to play a couple games there every year at Old County Stadium, and that would never get a fly. Green Bay was like, no, this is our team. Listen, you got the Brewers, you got the Milwaukee Bucks, we have the Packers. We'll play a couple games there. Of course, they don't even do that anymore, so they play all their home games there at Lambeau Field. So I love the fact that you got a little bitty city like that they're passionate and they're everywhere. Packer fans are everywhere. We just talked about that.
Yeah, they really are. And you talk about teams that are trying to move. Have you heard the recent rumors and news about there's a group in Orlando that's pushing really hard to land the Tampa Bay Rays organization, to get the Rays to move to Orlando?
Listen, I'm sorry. I've seen 2 franchises in Major League Baseball play in the state of Florida, and neither one of them has supported their teams very well. I mean, Miami and Tampa. Of course, now the Tampa Bay Rays, they play in St. Petersburg, although this year they're playing in Tampa because of the stadium, the roof being replaced. So they've always used that, St. Petersburg's not a good place. They should be playing in Tampa. Well, you're playing in Tampa this year, but you only got playing in a 13,000-seat stadium, so their attendance is going to be low no matter what. If the Rays ever leave, I think there's only 2 places I'd like to see them: Nashville and Montreal. Those are the 2 places I personally would like to see. I think Montreal got the shaft.
Yeah, they deserve to have a
Washington
franchise.
When they got that franchise, I think Montreal deserves another Major League team. But I think Nashville is at the point now, I think they could support a Major League franchise. Now, Braves fans don't want to see competition, but the Braves have got such a stranglehold on most of the Southeast. I think Nashville would be okay. Yeah, there's a small faction of the Braves fans that would go become whatever the Nashville team would be, but there's still so many other fans in all those other southern states.
Yeah, well, listen, you talk about teams that are, or cities that are good places that could be potential host of Major League teams. There's 2 avenues in which you can get there, though. There's a team like Tampa Bay or the A's or whoever. Relocating or expansion.
Right.
I feel like expansion is going to happen a lot sooner than we realize. It's something that Rob Manfred's been talking about for the past, 6-7 years, it feels like at this point. And Nashville is at the very top of that list.
Oh, yeah.
So Nashville's eventually going to get a Major League organization. And I don't think it's a bad idea for the Rays to look into moving to a more metro area in Orlando that's more centrally located, that's honestly, it's a tourist hub. So how many people, go to Disney, go to Universal during the day and say, hey, let's go catch a Rays game?
Same way with Las Vegas.
Exactly.
That's the philosophy there, too.
Yeah, so I think that there's some merit behind that. And there's a group, this is according to Outkick, this article that I read today, and there's a group called the Orlando Dreams that have made made an announcement that they've secured $1.5 billion in funding in order to get the Rays in Orlando. So, and they're talking about building a state-of-the-art stadium. And so money is not an issue down there.
That's pretty impressive. I've not seen that. I think the only stadium news I saw today was the Washington Commanders are going to move to the location of the old RFK Stadium. I think I read that was like $3.4 billion.
Wow.
And the new owner, is going to fund 76% of that, his own money. Well, Jerry Jones built, AT&T Stadium out of his own back pocket. If you got enough money, you'll get a return on your investment.
Yes.
You will.
And for our listeners that might not already realize this or know this, but Jim is a big Reds guy. Big Cincinnati Reds guy. Do you know who the face of this Orlando Dreams organization that's making this push for Orlando? Do you know who the face is?
No.
Barry Larkin.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh, he's a color analyst for the Reds currently.
Yeah, it says the organization's public-facing personality is Barry Larkin, a longtime member of the Cincinnati Reds and a Hall of Famer who lives in the Orlando area.
I did know he lives in Florida.
Listen, and that's one thing we've seen Derek Jeter with the Marlins, the role that he had with them basically as their GM, and I think he was like GM and president of operations there for a while. But I'm such a fan of these former players that know the ins and outs of the game, that have been in front offices. As you said, he's working currently still in broadcasting. And he knows where the fan bases are. He knows he's got the connections within the game, within Major League Baseball. And Tom Glavine has kind of been the face of these groups. Del Murphy's trying to get a team in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, so that's one thing. I think it's important to listen to these former players because who knows better than they do.
Right, and obviously they're biased towards their areas that they live in, and they would love to be a part of something like that. And I know Dale Murphy loves his home state, the state that he's most affiliated with other than Georgia is Utah, him being a Mormon and everything.
Yeah.
But I think Utah, they just got a new hockey team. I think they just announced their nickname. I can't remember what it is, but they just had a vote on that like a couple months ago. So they've got the NHL franchise. Obviously, they've got the Utah Jazz, which the name Jazz doesn't fit, but they started off in New Orleans. But so they've got, obviously BYU football, Utah Ute football. They don't have an NFL franchise, but I think Major League Baseball, the hockey team, and the basketball team. So, yeah, I could see the Salt Lake City being a viable option.
So it looks like you're talking about the Utah hockey team, and currently they're the Utah Hockey Club.
Right, and they've got a new nickname they're going to start using next year. They just voted on it, like, very recently, so it's out there. I don't remember the name, but it passed, and they've got a nickname they're going to be calling their franchise.
Oh, the Yetis?
I don't think that one was it.
This was 2 days ago from Yahoo Sports. Utah Hockey Club's effort to make Yeti permanent.
Okay, I thought it was something else. Listen, I'm not an NHL fan.
Yeah.
What can I say?
That's still pretty cool, though. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I was completely unaware of. And listen, that's why we got Jim Gum on the show.
There was a few years ago, you remember Washington when Redskins was banned? They said, no, we can't use that. It's a racist name. So they went by the Washington football team,
That was terrible.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you can't go that. You got to have a real nickname. So I'm glad they went with, the Command. I'm okay with Commanders. I'm okay with the Guardians. And a lot of people don't like that. But it's so funny because talking about nicknames. All right, Chattanooga Football Club. Well, you got that, but you also got the Chattanooga Red Wolves. So you got one that has a real nickname. Another one's just football clubs. I never know about the soccer.
Yeah,
what's right and what's wrong. But they get all this from Europe.
And sometimes they're more of whoever their sponsor is.
Yeah.
So they embrace their sponsor.
Yeah.
If it's listen, we're a big Hardees station here, so we might have a bunch of Hardees stars on everything if we're a soccer club.
Yeah, that's how they do over there in Europe. You look at these. You'll see the Emirates. The airline Emirates. You'll see that all over. But that's not their nickname. Their nickname's like a little bitty logo on their sleeve or something.
Quick Crete right here on the Braves jersey.
Yeah,
right.
It's coming, man. The logos and everything. Listen,
I hope Major League Baseball does not expand on that.
I was not for, like, you remember when Major League Baseball, look, you just got a Braves jersey, when they put the Nike swoosh right there, it used to be the logo was on a sleeve.
Back when Majestic and Russell had it.
And they put it on the front. Why? Because more TV viewing, you show the front of guys more than you do the sides.
And
That's
because Nike has a little bit of push that they can say, hey, listen, we're Nike. We want to have our check on the front.
Have you noticed in the NFL, the swoosh is still on the sleeve, where college football it's on the front? It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before the NFL will put the swoosh on the front, just like college.
And some of those things sound so minuscule and not that big of a deal.
It's marketing, man.
As a Braves fan, I was so frustrated. And it's just even like for the history of baseball, seeing a Yankees jersey with a Nike check on, I was like, dude, that does not look right. But specifically for the Braves, when they went with the whole Fanatics making the uniforms for Nike, they changed the piping and put it down on the bottom of the sleeve.
I know. I saw that.
Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy because I'm a traditionalist, man.
I am too, man.
And you brought up the Washington Redskins / Commanders, and I don't have a problem with Commanders, but there's a lot of voting out there and stuff trending saying that the fans in Washington don't really connect with Commanders and don't really like Commanders.
Well, they say Commanders reminds them of Snyder, the former owner, who was a really bad owner. And so they affiliate that name or associate that name with him. Just give it time. I'm okay with the word.
Well, there's a couple Native American groups in that area that are pushing for Redskins to come back, and I don't know that it will.
That's a little bit too derogatory. Listen, I'm a Caucasian. You can call them Wash Caucasian. Doesn't bother me at all.
I'm a fighting Irish fan, and I am Irish.
But if you call them the Redskins, that was a derogatory name at one point. I'm okay with Braves. I thought Indians could have been left as it was, but they changed the Guardians is a cool name. I like Guardians. I'm okay with that. I'm just not. I'm not crazy about Redskins. I'm okay with that. And I'll tell you right now, though, the uniforms that the Commanders wear compared to what the Redskins wear, night and day. I love the Washington Redskins uniforms.
Those were
these
clean
things,
and classic.
These things they wear now with the Commanders are hideous.
Hey, Philip, we've got Philip, who's our producer, with us today. And so I wanted to go back to Major League Baseball. Are you a Major League Baseball guy?
A little bit. I don't follow it all that closely. I pay attention to who's winning, but I just don't care to sit and watch games in the evening after working at Lee and watching games every weekend. I don't have the time / willpower to sit and watch another baseball game sometimes.
Philip is locked in. He was just kind of telling me, and I'll let you tell our listening audience here in just a second what you do at Lee and everything that you're involved in. But he was just telling me he went from baseball to what?
Yeah, so I'm the athletic communications director at Lee. And so 2 weeks ago, I was with golf at their conference championship. Then we had home baseball and softball this weekend. I'm going to their baseball conference tournament this Friday. We're hosting the track and field this weekend. So Then I go to golf regionals the next week. So it's a busy time of the year. So a lot of times I don't even care to sit. I just want to go sit on the couch.
Yeah, I get
read
it,
a
man.
book, and that's about it.
Escape.
Exactly.
So during basketball season, did you make the trip to Tampa? Did you go down with girls basketball team to Tampa?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so listen, there's going to be a point in time. Now, you said you're going to be with us today and tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, we got a guy that fills in for Jim here by the name of Drew Linus.
Yes, I know Drew very well.
Okay,
yes.
So we need to line it up so you're here when Drew's here, so me and you can tag team on Drew and just give him a hard time the whole time.
I'm down for that. We can do that at some point.
Awesome.
For sure.
Mark it down. Hey, listen, we're going to talk a whole lot more NFL draft when we come back. Plenty of Atlanta Braves. Hey, Braves have won a couple series here in a row.
And listen, they've got an opportunity. They're playing the Rockies. The Reds just swept them. This is a very, very bad baseball team there in Denver. So the Braves get an opportunity to sweep this series and really get themselves right the ship, if you will.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I'm telling you there's a chance.
We'll be right back here on The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
Introducing Hardee's new chicken cordon bleu sandwich. The goodness of a buttermilk dipped, hand-breaded 100% white meat chicken filet stacked with thin sliced smoked ham, melty Swiss, and creamy honey mustard on a freshly toasted bun. For a gourmet take on an everyday favorite, the chicken cordon bleu sandwich is an indulgence you'll only find at Hardee's. Goodness in the making. Available for a limited time at participating restaurants.
ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell.
Come to Don Ledford Chevrolet and save the whole month of April. during Don Ledford Chevrolet Truck Month. You'll get tremendous discounts and factory rebates on their most popular vehicles. You can buy stock number 240622. A 2025 Chevrolet Trailblazer Active SUV model, MSRP of $35.79 for just $27,870. Or take home stock number 250621. A 2025 Silverado 1500 pickup, custom Trail Boss 4x4 crew cab that has a $58,220 MSRP for just $48,873. That's almost $10,000 off. And Don Ledford has special leasing options available as well. Come in today. Don Ledford Chevrolet, 4595 North Lee Highway in Cleveland, or donledford.com for details and a trade assistance coupon. Don Ledford Chevrolet, where we say yes. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Trailblazer stock 250622. MSRP is $29,340. It is a courtesy transportation vehicle. Both sale prices include qualifying rebates, R plus tax tag and title and dealer fee of $649. Must take delivery by April 30th, 2025.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
More providers in more places. That's Erlanger Medical Group. More than 500 providers across 70 locations, from primary care to virtually every medical specialty. For an appointment, call 423-778-DOCS. That's 778-DOCS.
Hey guys, this is Dan Good from Crown. Just reminding you that Crown Ram is Cleveland and Bradley County's Ram headquarters.
Magnolia Dental Center of Cleveland wants to welcome you to the Magnolia family, a local dental clinic that uses their God-given knowledge and skills to bless our community through dentistry. From checkups and cleanings to dentures and all-on-4 dental implants, they can help you feel healthier and more confident. Conveniently located at 2190 Chambliss Avenue, join the Magnolia family today. Call 423-476-3307 for your free exam and x-rays.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
For over 100 years, Mayfield Dairy has been delivering farm-fresh dairy beloved by Southern families. In 1983, Mayfield introduced its iconic yellow jug. The new jug helps block harmful light rays, protecting the flavor and nutrients in the milk. Learn more about Mayfield today at mayfielddairy.com. And listen, I'm going off script here a little bit. When I was at the grocery store the other day, another partner of ours here, Food City. I was at Food City, and I was told by the wife, get a gallon of milk. And I go over to the milk aisle, and I see that iconic yellow jug, and I went straight for it. And I said, well, I'm going to price it and look compared to the store brand. And they were right there about the same. So Mayfield, quality local product here, and pricing is extremely fair. Love that yellow jug milk.
You know, I'm not brand loyal to everything, but I am brand loyal to Mayfield milk. I'll promise you that. Whenever I go out of town where Mayfield is not sold, if we're like going to the beach or something, you get whatever the local milk is down there. It's okay, but it's not Mayfield. I can taste the difference.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So I can taste the difference. So, yeah, I am not brand loyal to a lot of things, but I am brand loyal to Mayfield milk for sure.
Hey, of course, Braves coverage here on The Drive is brought to you by Mayfield Dairy. And Mayfield's very proud of the Braves right now, I would assume, because
they're playing good.
Playing good baseball. Braves took 2 of 3 out in Arizona, beating the Diamondbacks 8-2 on Friday. During that Friday game, Chris Sale recorded his first win. That seemed like a long time coming, didn't it?
That's crazy. That was his first win of the year. I mean, he's pitched well, but obviously there's been a couple times where the Braves just didn't give him any offensive help. So
yeah,
good for him.
In that game Friday, Austin Riley, Michael Harris, and Eli White, talk about a pleasant addition to this team. Eli White has been. Each of those guys had 2 hits, so big win, 8-2 on Friday. Saturday, Atlanta took game 2 of the series 8-7. That one was a little bit more of a slugfest. And the big story of that night had nothing to do with the Braves. It was Arizona's Eugenio Suarez going 4 for 4 with 4 of those hits being 4 home runs.
You know, I wonder, and I know that's only the 19th time in Major League history guys hit 4 home runs. Has a guy ever hit 4 home runs and his team lost? Now, I'm trying to remember when Bob Horner hit 4 home runs. Did the Braves win that game or lose? That was back in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that one out.
I think the Braves might have lost that one, but usually a guy hits 4 homers, you got to think that the team's going to win the game. But if that's the case, maybe only a couple times has that ever happened where a guy hits 4 homers and his team loses. But it seemed like the Braves lost that one too.
Here you go. Bob Horner's 4 home run game was in a loss to we were just talking about in Montreal Expos.
I was watching that game.
July 6th, 1986. So,
golly, how do you hit 4 homers and your team loses?
Who was the Reds player? And he might not have been 4, but hit like 3 home runs in the game.
Jeanette.
Scooter Gennett.
Yeah.
Jeanette.
He hit 4 homers, and I'm trying to remember. That was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, sure was.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's not even a home run hitter.
Yeah.
And he just had one of those magical days that just don't come along very often. Listen, I think one of the most exciting things in Major League Baseball is when a guy hits for the cycle.
Oh, that's awesome.
But hitting 4 home runs in a game, I'm sorry, man, that's pretty awesome because it's so rare. So yeah, stuff like that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, that was really cool. And unfortunately, on Sunday, Atlanta failed to secure the sweep. They lost that game 6-4. And we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that loss because we got the series win and we want to be excited, right?
Listen, on the road, the goal is to go 500 and to win about 70% of your games at home. If you do that, you're making postseason. So the Braves started off horrendously on the road. So it's going to take a while for them to get to 500. But
yeah, 0-6 on the road.
They've got a real opportunity going to Colorado. This team, listen, that's a home run hitting paradise there, and they don't have any power on that Colorado Rockies club, and the pitching is very mediocre at best. So a real opportunity to get some serious wins in your back pocket going there. And so yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for the Braves to go to Colorado.
Kind of jumping in real quick. So according to MLB.com, only 2 other times has there been a player hit 4 home runs and lost. Bob Horner in '86 and Ed Delahunty in 1896.
1896.
I remember watching.
I was going to ask Jim if you remembered '96.
So that's the only 2 other times.
Okay, because you would think you hit 4 home runs. Even as a team, you hit 4 home runs, you're probably going to win. And if one guy does it, you think, yeah, they're probably going to win.
Everyone remembers old Delahunty, right?
Oh yeah, good old Ed. Everyone called him Mr. Ed. You know,
the horse.
Yeah.
Hey, so Braves will wrap up the road trip with a 3-game series in Colorado. Game 1 tonight. First pitch, another late one. You know, we get these West Coast games, and you better drink your coffee. I just had mine, and it'll last me here for a few hours at least. Maybe it'll get me to the 7th inning, but first pitch, 8:40. Bryce Elder on the mound for the Braves, and he is taking on Ryan Feltner. Pitching for Colorado. That game will be on Mix 104.1 and ESPN Cleveland right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. So excited about those. That series getting started tonight up in Colorado. And Jim, you were talking about it. The ball, it doesn't matter how far they move the wall back. It seems like they've done it a couple times over the years, but the ball just absolutely flies up there in Mile High.
Yeah, of course, all the baseballs are stored in a humidifier there, so they're a little bit damp, so they're not too dry, because the drier the ball, the further it goes. So they implemented that, I think, about 2 years into when they first, I guess, started playing ball there in Denver. They didn't use a humidifier, and they were hitting home runs everyone was hitting home runs like crazy when they played at Mile High Stadium. By the way, that they set an attendance record that first year in Colorado. I think it's an unbreakable record, because I think the only franchise that could ever top that attendance would be the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they would have to average around 55,900 per game to equal what the Rockies did that first year. Because I remember there was a few games where they played at Mile High Stadium. They had 80,000 people there.
Yeah, that's wild.
And, of course, the biggest ballpark in the majors these days is Dodger Stadium. That holds 56,000. So if they sold out every game. They could barely break that record. So you talk about an unbreakable record, is that a tennis record? But those Rocky fans, they're loyal, but I think they're getting frustrated. There was a lot of boo birds in Denver this past weekend.
The problem in Colorado, it's hard to get convinced pitchers to come pitch there.
Right.
It's very hard. And every once in a while, they convince a ground ball type pitcher to show up. But it usually doesn't go good.
You know, if you remember when Todd Helton was there and Larry Walker, those guys weren't given enough credit because a lot of people said, oh, yeah, because they play half their games in Denver. Well, you can't penalize it. It's not his fault.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
It's not his fault. It's the highest elevation in Major League Baseball. Trivia question for you. What's the second highest elevation in Major League Baseball?
The second highest elevation in Major League Baseball, I am going to say... That's a good one. Let me sit on that one for a second. I'm not going to look it up.
He is Googling it right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we sit here.
Listen, I'm one of those people that if you're with me and someone says, well, hey, who was in that movie? And my buddy picks their phone up, I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. We got to figure this out. We can't rely on Google. We got to work the brain a little bit. But so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw out a guess. And I'm sure you're going to quickly shoot me down.
No, I don't know.
I'm going to go with... Man, I've never thought about this. Ask the question again.
What is the second highest elevation in Major League Baseball as far as where the stadium sits as far as above sea level?
Okay, so shot in the dark here. Because I'm thinking bodies of water around the stadium typically, which, obviously doesn't apply to rivers.
Right, it's not New York, Boston, L.A., or anything like that. Yeah.
So let's go with my first guess,
This is bad radio, by the way.
Kansas City Royals.
Atlanta.
Is it really?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
When Atlanta played at Fulton County Stadium, it was called the launching pad.
Oh, well, I knew that.
And a lot of people, I feel, have said, oh, it's because of the elevation, which it's only like 1,000 feet above sea level. Then you got Denver, which is like 3,000. So it's considerably higher there in Denver. But Atlanta was the highest elevated city until Denver got a team there, the Colorado Rockies.
See, I was thinking too deep there.
Right. Well, and Atlanta is one of the biggest cities that doesn't have a major body of water near it. That's why the state of Georgia desperately would love to tap into the Tennessee River, but the river just barely misses the Georgia border. And that's why the state of Georgia they've questioned whether the border is correct. Because because they want to take a little bit, like a half mile. And if they took a half mile, then they would be able to tap into the Tennessee River and funnel that water down to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
and the state of Tennessee says, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that for you.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's true stuff, man.
Never knew the Braves were the second highest elevation in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Hey, so listen, speaking of the Braves, we've got some big moves that took place over the weekend. On Sunday, the Braves claimed right-handed pitcher Ian Anderson. You remember that guy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's back. Off waivers from the Angels, and retroactive right-handed pitcher Davis Daniel was sent to AAA following yesterday's game. And then earlier today, this was kind of a big one, Braves optioned Jared Kelenic to AAA Gwinnett and signed outfield free agent, another guy we remember, Eddie Rosario, who was huge in that 21 season when the Braves won the World Series. So they signed Eddie Rosario to a major league deal and obviously will likely either be sent down or released once Ronald Acuna Jr. returns.
You know, we had that little thing that went on between Jared Kelenic and Ronald Acuna. We always said, we thought, well, heck, there's a connection there because when Acuna comes back, we thought that he would be the one to push Kelenic back out of the majors. But unfortunately for him, they got Eddie Rosario. But like you said, this is a temporary move. There's no doubt that the Braves have to make a move, and it will be an outfielder that will be sent down. And Eddie Rosario's up here for probably a couple weeks at best, and then it's going to be Ronald Acuna. Oh, I would think maybe a week at best.
Yeah, and I do think that at some point Jared Kelenic will return and be the fourth outfielder.
You think so?
The biggest thing, it seems like, kind of reading into it and listening to what people in the organization have kind of said, that Jared Kelenic needs to have some success right now and some consistent every single day at bats. And they figured that going to AAA might be able to kind of jumpstart his bat. So hopefully that's what happens with Jared Kelenic down with the Gwinnett Stripers.
I'm curious to see Ronald Acuna. Will they throw him in the outfield, or will they throw him to the DH from time to time? I'm thinking it may be a little bit of both initially, but Ronald Acuna is a great outfielder when he's healthy. And when he's out there with you got him and Michael Harris out there. It's hard to get anything in between those two guys. Let's be honest. So let's just see how it all goes with Ronald Acuna. And I know the guy's going to hit. My fear about him is on defense initially, but they're not going to take any chances with this guy. Would you say that he's their most important everyday player?
Who, Ronald?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's either
I
him
think
or
so.
Austin Riley. To me, those are the two guys in my book are the two guys that I think are the face of the franchise.
I think you could put Matt Olson in that category as well.
Yeah, you probably could.
Especially when Matt is more. So when Austin Riley's hitting the ball opposite field, that really bridges the order. And when Matt Olson's hitting for power, because he's a power or a struggle guy, it's one or the other. So consistently wise, I think you're probably right. Acuna is the most important.
Well, he's the table setter,
yeah,
for sure.
Because and you're talking about a 5-tool player. He does everything good. It doesn't matter what it is. And a lot of people kind of anticipate that the base stealing is going to go down significantly, and just because of fewer attempts to avoid injury, but. He's a guy, and we joked around and talked about this a few weeks ago. You remember Yasiel Puig? They called him the wild horse. Mm-hmm. Ronald Acuna is the wild horse, man. The kid, the man loves to play the game, and when he's out there, I think it's going to be
give it everything he's got.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to put any reins on him.
Absolutely, you don't want to put reins on him. Although the franchise and the management will try, but when he's out there. He's not going to give 80%. He's going to give everything he's gotten. Sometimes that has led to some unfortunate injuries, but this guy's, like I said, he's a 5-tool guy. He's a great player that needs to play every day as best he can and play as hard as he can every day. That's the only way he knows how to play. And when he's doing that, the Braves are winning more often than not.
Yeah, and one thing that Braves fans can kind of take some comfort in, when Acuna does return, the depth right now in the outfield is actually pretty good in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I mean, Alex Verdugo, what an absolute spark he has been offensively for this outfield. You add Eddie Rosario to the mix now. We don't know what Eddie's going to be. He's a guy that was hitting the ball in AAA, which is a good sign, but he struggled last year in the majors. And he really hasn't been the same guy since that 21 season in the major leagues. But hopefully, having some success there in AAA, things translate, and he can be one of those guys that is a temporary spark maybe.
Right.
But between Verdugo, Rosario, Michael Harris, Eli White, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Jared Kelenic, you've got major league ready defensive players without a doubt. They all play pretty good defense, but really that's a decent crop of guys that hit the baseball.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've got really good depth there in the outfield. And listen, they're playing some teams now that the pitching's not exactly up to par. They need to take advantage of the mediocre or probably below mediocre pitching in Colorado. Come back home. Maybe we'll see Acuna in a week. And I'm assuming they're going to bring him back in the home at the homestand.
They should,
and I think it would be good for him because he's familiar with the surroundings and everything there in Atlanta. I think it would be good to get him out there to kind of ease him back in. But like I said, you may ease him back in, but he's going to give everything he's got when he's out there, and he's one of the top 5 players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, you asked a great question, kind of who's the most important guy, and a guy that kind of often gets overlooked, and it's because haven't had him to long-term deals outside of that initial one, and he missed some time due to some domestic issues. But Marcell Ozuna is a guy who is loved in the clubhouse, and talk about a guy who hits for power. That's the guy I want to if we need a big shot, we got juice bases, we got bodies on the bags. We need Marcell Ozuna at the plate. That's the guy I'm saying. That's who I want if I could pick.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't get cheated at the plate. He takes a full cut with no strikes, 2 strikes. It doesn't matter to him. He's taking a full cut, and he's been a clutch guy at times. We've seen him come through in the clutch. Obviously, when he's in the outfield, he's a liability, but they don't need him in the outfield anymore. He's a straight up designated hitter, that's where he needs to be, because defensively he was a liability out there. But you're talking about this Braves outfield with all these guys they've got. They've got depth galore. Now, that being said, I fully believe the Braves will trade one or two of these guys come the trade deadline to get some relief pitching. I think they have to.
We need it.
I think they have to. I think you got White now that's doing well. You've got, I don't know who would be a good option to trade for some top-line relief pitching. Andy, I think that's the only way the Braves can really compete. They've got to improve that relief staff.
Yeah,
I think they've got the inventory in the outfield to do that.
Yeah, and I think making moves like Ian Anderson is a desperate reach, hoping that you can catch lightning in a bottle.
Right.
And I don't think, to your point, I don't think you can rely on that. You are going to have to make a move at some point to pad that bullpen to get a legitimate arm in there that people are like, oh, man, this guy's in their pen. That's an option to come out of the bullpen now.
Yeah, and I don't think Craig Kimbrell's the answer. We've talked about Iglesias has lost a little bit, although he did get the win the other night.
Dylan Lee's been pretty good for us.
So you've got a few guys here and there, but the overall depth is nowhere where you need it to be serious contenders in the National League, along with the by the way, the Giants are playing well. The Padres, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Mets. You got about 5-6 teams in the National League the Cubs are playing well.
The NL West is dangerous.
Yeah, the West is crazy good, but you've got some teams in your own division, the Mets and Phillies, that you're looking up at, and you got the Cubs are playing well. So you got 5-6 teams. I'll tell you what, to me, the National League looks head and shoulders better than the American League this year. Now, that may not play out for the whole year, but for the month of April, it certainly has.
Yeah, I agree with you. And listen, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more Atlanta Braves baseball, but we're also going to talk about some headlines going across the NFL, not only the draft, but some chaotic things that took place during the draft with some prank phone calls.
Oh, my gosh. We'll get into that. I can't wait to hear your opinion on this one.
That's right. We'll cover it right here on The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3 when we come back.
Strawberries and springtime go hand in hand. Now at Hardees, they come together with a hint of lemon in our famous buttermilk biscuits. Introducing Hardees Strawberry Lemon Biscuits, loaded with berry goodness and drizzled in icing. Served warm from sunrise to supper time. The perfect taste to bring on the sunshine all day long. But hurry, this special strawberry lemon flavor is as fleeting as springtime itself. Hardees, goodness in the making. Available for a limited time. Exclusions may apply by time of day.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
Got an injury that just can't wait? There's no need to delay your care. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is excited to announce that our Urgent Ortho Walk-In Clinic is now available on Saturdays at the Gun Barrel Road location. Open from 8 to noon, we're here to treat sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. So skip the long ER wait and get specialized orthopedic care fast. Visit us this Saturday at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Urgent Ortho. We're the center for expert care right when you need it. Learn more at sportmed.com.
Come to Don Ledford GMC and save the whole month of April during Don Ledford's GMC Truck Month. You'll get tremendous discounts and factory rebates on the GMC professional grade pickups. Listen to this great purchase deal. Buy stock number 250586, a 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation Series. 4-wheel drive that has an MSRP of $58,825 for just $48,128. That's over $10,000 off. That's a truck and a price you don't want to miss. Special leasing options available as well. Come in today. Don Ledford GMC, 4595 North Lee Highway in Cleveland, or go to donledford.com for details and a trade assistance coupon. Don Ledford GMC, where we say yes. GMC, we are professional grade. Stock number 250586. Price includes all qualifying rebates and is plus tax, tag and title, and dealer fee of $649. Must take delivery by April 30th, 2025.
Now. We tend not to think about now. We dream about tomorrow, relive yesterday. But right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you. because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. Learn more at v.org.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
ESPN Cleveland 1013 is sending 2 lucky people to the Jacks Links 500 at Talladega April 26th and 27th. 3 races in 2 days. Don't miss your chance to see NASCAR's biggest stars take on the baddest track in what's sure to be an action-packed race. Listen for your chance to text in and qualify instantly on ESPN Cleveland 1013. We're also giving away 2 tickets along with garage experience passes on our ESPN Cleveland socials.
Cleveland Tire Center for over 45 years with the best name in tires: Bridgestone, Firestone, Goodyear, and Michelin. Northley Highway, Cleveland. Cleveland Tire Center, where the name says it all. Since 1993, Check Into Cash has offered cash solutions to our customers. The application process is simple, and the lending decisions are quick. If you've been approved, you can leave our store with cash in hand. Our loan options are built to handle life's small emergencies. We offer reliable payday loans and line of credit options. Visit our website at checkintocash.com to learn more about your options, and when you're ready, drop by our conveniently located stores in the Chattanooga area, including Cleveland and Athens, to apply. We also offer various in-store financial services like check cashing, money orders, wire transfers, and even gift card buyback. Take the first step toward a bright financial future. We're here to help and aim to be your one-stop money shop. Not all consumers will qualify. Eligibility, rates, terms, and conditions apply. Rates, restrictions, and fees apply to store services. Please call or visit your local store for details.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Yeah, I'm getting on Andy for bobbing his head. Now I'm bobbing my head. I'm trying to read an ad here. By the way, Duracell, who is, by the way, located right across the street from our studio, they are now hiring mechanical skilled technicians, $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning on day one: medical, dental, and vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. And we're going to talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend with the NFL draft. Of course, we were discussing this on Friday about, we were surprised that Shedeur wasn't drafted on not one. We thought, well, it's not a big shocker. You and I were both convinced that the Browns were going to get him with
the first pick of the second round.
First round is either the first or the fourth pick, either one. We thought for sure they'd get him. Well, they got him all right, but not until pick number 144. I tell you right now, I think Shedeur Sanders is a steal for the Browns. I think it's a great. Listen, I know they got Dylan Gabriel. But you know what? It's okay to get. They got 2 running backs too. Nobody's complaining about that. So the best man wins. Here's the thing: is they got 4 or 5 quarterbacks, depending on if they're going to cut anybody before camp. The best quarterback's going to be the starter, whoever that is. And I can't imagine that Shedeur Sanders won't be given a fair opportunity to at least start a few games this year, depending on how the season goes. But I fully expect to see this guy on the roster the entire season. I don't know about Dylan Gabriel, but Dylan Gabriel was a big-time winner too. So it's going to be fun to watch Cleveland Browns this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what Joe Flacco's an older gentleman in terms of the NFL at this point. He's a guy that had, pretty much called it a career, came out of retirement, came back.
Times.
Yeah. And I think depending on his health, between Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and I believe Deshaun Watson is washed for the entire year from that Achilles injury, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a hard one for him to come back. But I mean, they got Kenny Pickett too,
and
right?
Kenny Pickett, yeah.
And I don't think Kenny Pickett's got a chance.
I don't think so
job.
either. He's a depth guy. He's a depth guy, and listen, great college career at University of Pittsburgh, and the Steelers thought they were going to get something out of him. Just didn't work out. And so it's not everyone's cut out just because they're successful at the college level to be successful in the pros. Shedeur Sanders is one of those guys. I feel like and I'm a Deion guy. Like, I like Deion Sanders, but I do think it's going to be beneficial to Shedeur getting out from under Daddy's wing and getting in a different quarterback room with a guy like Joe Flacco to mentor him.
I agree.
And to have that relationship with Dylan Gabriel, because, listen, one thing that Dylan Gabriel graded really high on was the character stuff.
Yep.
And when you're rubbing elbows, you're sitting beside Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco, hopefully for Shedeur Sanders' sake, and I'm not saying he's not a high character guy, there's some antics and some things that I would appreciate to see dialed back a little bit. But coming in and having a chip on his shoulder because of the slide that he took in the draft, you said pick 144. This is a guy who a lot of people thought was a top 10 guy.
By the way, I have to say this. I was so impressed with Shedeur Sanders when they showed him when he was picked at pick number 144. His attitude seemed fantastic. He wasn't moping around. He wasn't ticked off. He was thrilled. He was ecstatic to be drafted. And I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, but he didn't show that he was upset. I think he's going to embrace this. I wouldn't be surprised to see him wear number 5 just to say 5th round draft. It's something crazy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I could see something like that going on there. But it's good. I do believe that it's good between him and Gabriel as to who will be the number 2 guy. I believe Flacco will start the season at number 1. I believe he'll start the season. I don't think he'll end the season there. I think it'll be between Sanders and Dylan Gabriel as the number 2 guy. And I think whoever that ends up being, we'll see that guy starting games 5, 6, 7, somewhere down the road. Flacco's a Band-Aid. We want to see what these 2 guys, because I'm a believer in both of these guys, Sanders and Gabriel. I think both these guys can play, and I think they're both quality guys.
And if you're the Browns too, that we've very well voiced on this show the struggles over the decades the Browns have had at quarterback. The list goes on and on of players that have started at quarterback for the Browns. Looking at it in this aspect, in these terms, the more you've got in that quarterback room, maybe one of them hits.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've always wondered how it is, maybe I make more out of it than it really is, but you got 2 right-handed quarterbacks or 3, and then you got a lefty. Now, we all know that the blind side for a left-handed quarterback is the opposite way. So I always wondered the blocking scheme, the offensive line, what changes they have to make when they go from a right-handed starting quarterback to a lefty. And so now instead of your left tackle being the most important guy, now it's the right tackle because that's your blind spot. So I don't know if that's as big a deal as I make it out to be. Maybe it's not, but I always wonder about stuff like that, because I know that, as a Bengals fan, when Boomer Esiason was quarterback, the right tackle was the most important guy on that line.
Yeah.
More so than the left tackle. So it does make a difference.
No, absolutely. So going back to Shedeur Sanders for a second, obviously some big news was the prank phone call that took place during the draft. And obviously, I'm sure it's a very stressful moment, regardless of how well he handled it and really demonstrated, because he had a live video crew following him around the whole time. And he was going on his Instagram Live and all that stuff. Really, I feel like Shedeur did handle it well. But there's got to be internally, just speaking as a former athlete, there's got to be some stress there. Like, why am I sliding? Why do these teams not want me? He knows what he's capable of. But he gets a prank phone call, which later, and this is from ESPN.com, the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich admitted to a prank call made to Shedeur Sanders during the NFL draft. He apologized on an Instagram post on Sunday. The NFL is looking into the situation, specifically how Sanders' private number was leaked, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. So, listen, and anyone that's on social media has seen the video. First of all, if you're going to commit a crime, no matter how little or funny or if it's a prank, don't videotape yourself doing it and post it. That's an easy way to get caught, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And a couple Ole Miss students hanging out in their dorm. Hey, let's call Shedeur Sanders and tell him he's been drafted. And I think it happened, I believe it was during the third round when they did it.
When the Saints were on the clock, yeah. This happened to Cooper DeJean last year. And it wasn't a big deal last year, but it's a big deal this year because of the drop from Sanders. And listen, I'm going to say something. We all know that Shedeur Sanders wasn't drafted as high as a lot of experts thought. But the only experts that count are the 32 GMs for the NFL teams. What Mel Kiper wants or says, or any other of these
Mel Kiper was
mock
freaking out.
Draft guys, they're not employed by these NFL teams. So apparently they had a higher thought process about him than the 32 NFL teams. And let's be honest, more than half the NFL teams are not looking for a quarterback. So it has to be the perfect storm. Like, you're really looking for a quarterback, and you really are sold on these guys. Listen, he was the 5th quarterback that was drafted. Okay, or no, 6th. The 6th quarterback that was drafted. There were 5 drafted ahead of him, and there were 7 drafted behind him. There were 13 total quarterbacks. So obviously they had their opinions were varied as far as the different guys, but there were a lot of quarterbacks drafted after him, and nobody seems to be crying about them. I don't know. I think there was a lot more made of this only because they were wrong. The mock draft guys were wrong, and now they're upset about it. But they're wrong all the time. They're wrong all the time.
Absolutely, they are.
This one was a big miss by a lot of them, though, to be honest.
Yeah, and so on day 2 of the draft, that's when this prank call took place, and a video surfaced on social media of the former Colorado quarterback receiving a call from someone impersonating New Orleans Saints GM Mickey Loomis.
Right.
So it was Mickey Loomis, who was the apparent GM that was calling, and the caller told Sanders, "We're going to take you with our next pick, man, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Sorry about that." And then they hung up. So even Shedeur Sanders, with his family and friends around him, he goes, "What does that mean?" And later on, Jax Ulbrich, the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, wrote on his Instagram post that it was completely inexcusable and embarrassing and shameful. He said Sanders accepted his call earlier, so the two did have a conversation, and his Instagram post did say, "I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of my life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me." And again, I do think Shedeur handled it great in the moment, and I'm sure that phone call, Shedeur probably was like, "Dude, don't do stuff like that." But yeah, hey, I appreciate you calling me and trying to make it right.
Listen, I understand. Listen, God, I've seen so many people. I mean, you got people that think these people should be thrown in jail. I'm like, first, they didn't break a law. You can't throw them in jail, but they want these people to be like, ostracized the rest of their lives.
There's got to be some type of consequence, in my opinion.
There is, but some of these people are going overboard. I get it. They made a mistake. Nobody was hurt. Nobody got hurt. It's not against the law, okay? What he did, he shouldn't have got it. It was a private number that he had no business getting, but his dad shouldn't have left his laptop up. Not putting an excuse. He made a mistake. But, man, I've seen people trying to say that the head coach or the assistant coach for the Falcons should lose his job over it. I'm like, no, he shouldn't lose his job over it. His son is embarrassed. Okay, his son is embarrassed big time. Shedeur seems to be like, no big deal, guys.
Yeah.
But the same thing happened to Cooper DeJean last year.
Well, this year.
And this year, but I'm talking about last year. But nobody made a big deal out of it last year.
Well, Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end, who is now the Indianapolis Colts tight end, received a prank phone call too.
But everything seems to be okay with that.
Yeah.
We're not going to ostracize those kids.
It's because of who it was. There's such a spotlight on Shedeur Sanders.
Well, and they videotaped themselves like idiots, like you said. Had they not videotaped it, we probably wouldn't even know who was the guilty party, and everyone would be okay with it. How do you stop this? I don't know. There's always going to be leaks. I mean, for crying out loud, we got leaks in the United States government. There's always. I've said this before. People can't keep secrets. At some point, you hear all these conspiracies out there about all of these different things. I'm like, if this was real, we would have heard about it because people cannot keep secrets. That's just human nature. People want to say, hey, listen, I've got a secret. Now, don't tell anyone, blah, 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 blah.
Makes it exhilarating to talk about it.
Yeah, so people can't keep secrets. So, no, I think what they did was dumb, stupid. They were young kids. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Shador seems fine. Hey, you know what, Shador? He's an NFL quarterback now. These kids, they're going to be in college. I'm assuming they're still in college, So, everything's good. The world's still rotating as last I looked.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're good.
Hey, and to talk a little bit more locally about the NFL draft, we're going to get some more coverage with the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons, but both those organizations, I feel like you look at their body of work in this year's draft, and what a great draft both teams had.
Oh, I think the Titans killed it. I think they had a fantastic draft. Obviously, the first draft pick of the draft, to me, is the best pick out there. I'm a big Cam fan, so I think the Titans have got themselves a really, really good quarterback. Will he start week one? Maybe, maybe not. But he will be starting at some point during the 2025 season. And I believe that you'll see, out of all the rookies, I said there were 13 guys picked. Out of the 13, I think we'll see 4 or 5 of these guys start at some point during the 2025 season. I'm not saying they'll start week 1, but I think at some point you'll see about 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 guys that will start games, because we all know the NFL is. Guys get hurt. There's going to be guys get dinged up. And even if that, it could be just a poor play. So you'll get some guys in there because the starter isn't doing what he needs to be get done, and we got to try something else. So I love the NFL. I love the NFL draft because I love to see these new guys become stars. There's going to be busts. There always are. There's going to be some diamonds in the rough as well. So I can't wait.
Yeah, really looking forward to getting some of our friends back on air with us. We've talked with the executive producer of the Tennessee Titans Radio Network. We've talked same with the Falcons, so we're gonna have to get those guys to call back in hopefully tomorrow. And I believe you've got a caller calling in tomorrow to kind of break down the whole NIL stuff with us.
We got Christy Dosh. We're going to be talking to her tomorrow around 5:15 about how the NIL world works out there. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm completely clueless on how a lot of this stuff works. So we shall see.
Hey, with that, we went a little over today, a little bit of overtime, not a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we're okay with this. We're okay with that. I'm not sure if our producer here is okay, but he's looking like, come on, guys, I got to get home.
Yeah, listen, after a long weekend, the drive,
I'm fine with it.
We're going to have plenty to talk about here on the drive after a long weekend, and really excited for everything that's going on with the Atlanta Braves. Again, they're playing tonight out in Colorado to start the series. It's going to wrap up the road trip, though, so game 1 of that series, first pitch at 8:40. Bryce Elder on the mound for the Braves. You'll be able to listen to that on Mix 104.1 and right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. And don't forget, here on ESPN Cleveland, you'll be able to catch the pre- and post-game shows on the Braves Radio Network. Jim, hey, good show today, man.
Man, I had fun. I knew that it would be fun with all this stuff that went on over the weekend, but a lot of stuff going on this week as well.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Talladega.
Nope. No, we can maybe get into that a little bit tomorrow. Of course, we got the
lead it up to Finish Line Radio.
Finish Line, they're all over it, so for sure.
That's it.
No doubt.
Hey, listen, we appreciate you guys listening not only on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, but also on our social media pages on YouTube as we're streaming now. So tell your friends. And we want to interact with you guys more. So next time, be prepared. Volunteer Ridipest text line did not do that today.
Oh, we forgot.
Yeah, not only did we forget, we had a lot to cover, but we want to interact with you, the listeners, so we can kind of get your opinions, hot topics. We'll give you some times too. You want to talk about something, bring it up and put Jim and I on the spot, and we'll roll with it. So
absolutely.
For Jim Gum, I'm Andy Morris. You've been listening to The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. We'll be back with you same time tomorrow.
Update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC, located on North Lee Highway in Cleveland. Or visit donledford.com for details. Don Ledford, where we say yes. It's on-time traffic with Commander Chuck.
Good afternoon. It's gotten heavier on all the major outbound routes. Still some volume on 27, not only up through Red Bank, but as you work your way into that